We are on day 3 of building our septic leach field. Here on this side behind me, the slope is still not 1 in 3, so we still need to put a lot of sand here. And today, more sand is being delivered, but they need actually the large excavator, not the mini excavator they've been working with, to be able to get the sand from that side over to this side, so that the big excavator arm can reach over. That excavator is tied up in a different job, so they weren't able to bring it today, so they'll bring that tomorrow. But in the meantime, we were able to work on the pipe work. Our water pressure test passed overnight. It dropped just a tiny bit, and then we set the pressure back up to over 50, and then afterwards, when the temperature stabilized, then it was able to keep up exact same pressure for 2 hours. So we had our engineer, our septic engineer who designed the system, come out. He saw the pressure test results and he was happy with that.
The way it works in Vermont is that the designs for a septic system have to be engineered by a certified engineer, and then you get your wastewater permit signing off those designs. At that point, your engineer transitions to be the inspector. So he essentially comes out to ensure that you built what he designed.
So then we cut off the pressure testing apparatus. So that was over here. We cut it off and we glued on this T. And actually, if there's any problem with the septic system, it might happen here at the T. So we thought, oh, let's put a cover so that we can get there. And let's say if it's frozen, we can pour hot water in. But then we thought even better, what if we put clean out over here? So then we can snake pipe this way to the septic tanks or pipe it through sideways to the laterals. And our engineer agreed that that's a good idea. So we install this, and then there's gonna be cover so that we can get to that clean out. So we installed that. We installed the laterals. The end pieces we already had pre-assembled. So it just was glue points here and 20-foot stick and then end pieces. So the pipe itself is 55 feet long. Matt did the gluing, and then I put the holes facing upwards every 5 feet, which is what our engineer had designed this. And then at the very ends of the laterals, we put in small weep holes at the bottom.
The end of each lateral has a clean out plug, so there's a 45 transitioning into a clean out plug, so we had to attach those. Doing all of that while the engineer is watching is pretty terrifying. But we got it all done. He was really happy with it. It all looked good.
And then we fired up our generators and get the septic pump running to do a squirt test.
And the squirt test is to make sure that the water comes out of those cleanly, and it should rise to a height of at least 12 inches or so.
And it looked great. The engineer was looking for making sure that everything was even. Sometimes the burrs from drilling the holes get stuck, but we deburred every hole, so that was fine. And yeah, it looked all even, same height. So he passed the system and we are good to go to cover this, which is very, very exciting. So the next steps are to get this sand and another 1 or 2 loads of sand to be delivered to be on the other side, and then put native fill, 8 inches of native fill, which is going to be our topsoil that we scraped off when doing the site work. And then contractor will bring sifted topsoil. And then this is going to be a lawn, although we're not going to mow it. We will choose a type of seed that can just grow as grass and tall and doesn't need to cut. And hopefully it'll be good for the bees and the animals in the forest. I still can't believe that we're almost done with our 3rd utility. Now I just need to cover it. Oh, we'll also need to install the filter fabric. And then just cover everything, cover the septic tanks, and then we'll have running septic system.
We're gonna have to call it a day. The rain. So So that's going to go on like that. 2, 4, 6, okay. Like that. Almost like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, I think we should mount the rock around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it slides sideways.
Now that the squirt test is done, we've got everything signed off, it's time to continue on with the installation. We're not going to do a ton today because it's raining and it's getting late in the afternoon, but a couple of little things that we're doing. The first is installing these orifice covers. So from the squirt test, the liquid is going to go straight up if it's unimpeded. There will be crushed rock there, but what these orifice covers do is kind of divert that flow out and round. So they'll sort of go from each hole and disperse into the crushed rock around it. The other thing that we've done here is start to get the insulation ready to go over this manifold area. So this whole section is the area most vulnerable to freeze or something to go wrong. So what we've done is cut some sheets of foam insulation board. So this first one goes over the whole header area there. And this is 2 feet wide, 8 feet long, and it just protects this whole area. This was spec'd by the engineer, and we've cut the hole in there to allow our new clean out plug to go on. We've then cut 2 more squares with a hole in the center, and they will also drop over that same clean out so that we can access it in future. This brings it up to the height, and this isn't a final installation, there's still more rock to go under before we put these on, but this will bring it up to the height where we can put a 10-inch valve box on top that will come up to grade. So the final grade will be about this high. We're also going to pack some insulation into there as well. And that way you'll actually be able to open the valve box. There'll be insulation there that you can pull out, and then you can reach down into there with a tool if ever you need to get that clean out plug off to get inside and heat it up or put a snake in there or something. Fingers crossed we never have to do it. But if that does happen, then at least we've given ourselves the best possible chance.
And what's the tool that you discovered for it?
There's a square protrusion on these clean out plugs, which is what you turn in order to remove the clean out plug. It is really recommended to use a plug going into a female socket rather than a cap going over a male pipe. The reason for that is we can use a tool to remove these. If you do a cap, it's really hard to get in there and screw these on tight, and particularly unscrew them. When you're reaching down, you can't get any kind of tool in there. In order to get these on, I tried to find a good tool to use to attach onto this square coupling. I feel like I've seen such a tool, but in all of my research, I couldn't seem to find anywhere. So I asked our engineer, I'd even asked at the plumbing store, and they had no idea where to find one. I asked our engineer, and he said that he thinks they're not commonly available because that would allow people to manipulate the fittings on municipal water supplies and turn on their own water if it's been turned off and things. He said he sees them regularly in municipal sort of supply catalogues and things, but hasn't seen them readily available to the trades or public like us. However, I did find a workaround. I was able to just simply check the size of that square, and it turns out that a 25mm metric wrench fits on there perfectly, or a 30mm socket actually goes on there really nicely as well. So if we ever do need to remove that and get in there, rather than trying to reach down there and unscrew it by hand, I can just put an extension on a wrench, put a 30mm socket on the end and unscrew it that way. Obviously being very careful not to over tighten it because these are just plastic threads. Speaking of which, we do want to make sure these seal really well. So what we used is a couple of wraps of a PTFE tape and then some thread sealant on the end as well. These will never really sit at pressure. There's enough pressure to spray the water out through those holes that we drilled, but it's an open system in that respect. So it's not trying to hold a ton of pressure back. But the last thing we want is for effluent to start seeping out of any of these plugs, because that would be a real problem then when we come to access them. It worked really well. We've seen no signs of those leaking during the squirt test.
It is day 4 of building our leach field, and the excavator is here, so we can continue doing that. And now we will make sure that orifices stay in the right orientation on the holes.
Yes, the orifice covers we've got a little loose on the pipe. They want to slide around a bit. So we're just going to put a cable tie around each one, making all of this the more fun. We have had 1.5 inches of rain yes. in the last 24 hours.
Ooh, look at that water there.
Yeah, everything is totally soaked. Fortunately, as you'd expect, up here on the mound, it's draining really nicely, yes. which is exactly what a mound like this should do. But all around, it's just mud.
And we have some tarps that we will cover when the excavator will move the sand from one side to the other side, so it doesn't get on the rock.
Yeah.
So this is how loose they are.
Yeah, so without the zip tie, it's just very, very loose.
And we're afraid that when you dump the rock on, it's going to slide off.
Yeah, even if we pack rock around it, it could still be quite loose. I don't have any zip ties long enough, but these will work. So we're just putting two together and tightening that on like that. So that's a lot more secure. It will still turn a little bit, so we are going to have to pack the rock around it anyway. But it lets us get that really nicely lined up. We'll come back later and trim these off. Yep, feels pretty good.
Nice.
So these will go on later. We're just putting these on temporarily for now. As the excavator wants to move the sand from that side to the other, we want to put a tarp over, and I want to protect this standpipe. So by putting those two on there, when the tarp goes over, nothing will land directly on that standpipe, and it should keep it a little bit better protected. That's why we're doing it now. The bottom sheet will stay, but just these two squares will move.
We have installed the risers. So this is so that when the mound is this level, we can reach in and unscrew the lid, and if we need to snake through anything, then we can easily do that. There's a stump there. Oh.
We've got a bit of an issue. In the last 24 hours, we've had almost 2 inches of rain. And so, whereas yesterday the truck had no problems getting up here with a full load of sand or rock, we just need a couple more loads and he just cannot get through. And I'm telling you, this guy has tried hard. This is just super soft. They put some sort of compacted fill over there, and they put some over here, but there's a little spot in the middle here they hadn't put any on, and as a result it's just like muddy soup. I mean, you can see how soft it is just on foot, and so that fully loaded truck hasn't got a chance. They're going to bring the bobcat up, see if they can smooth it out a bit, and then we have got some crushed rock in a pile down there they're going to use. We don't want to use too much of it because this is the good stuff. It's not just driveway fill, but if they just need a small amount to get through this area, it's probably worthwhile doing.
You can dump it there if you like, but... excavator assist? No, pull. Oh. We have managed to position the truck with rock, and now we need to get 2 inches of rock above the pipes.
Do you think he was really good at making sandcastles when he was young?
So now we have the mini excavator back in action, and now we have a loader that is moving the topsoil, or our topsoil, from here to the leach field. That's a native fill of 8 inches going on top of the septic field. And here the big excavator is fluffing up the topsoil and kind of getting some of the rocks out so that the loader can take it. And in the meantime, we got 2 loads of fill sand over here. So the excavator is able to pile it back. And now we're going to finish laying our conduit around the corner so that this whole area can be covered and filled with topsoil up to this level. Okay, so we are done laying conduit by the septic tank, and now it's ready to be backfilled. We'll backfill the backside first so that the machine can get close to here, but then after that we'll backfill the front, because over here our cleanout is going to come up here, and then another Y that will split this way to the utility building and this way to the house. But we don't want to put that in yet so that the big machines don't drive and step on it and so on. But yeah, all of this will be backfilled to this level.
Today has been a really good day. We've got a ton of stuff done. Compared to this morning, despite the weather, they have been able to get all of the gravel, the crushed rock on here. They've put a load of the fill on here, which we brought over with the bucket loader from the big pile over there. They've helped us get some sand around the septic tanks. So yeah, a lot of progress has been made here. I wanted to show you this quickly. This is the valve box that we've put in above that sort of manifold where the standpipe comes up. And I want to show you how we've insulated this. This is the area that's really vulnerable to potentially freezing, and we wanted to make sure by putting a valve box on top, we didn't inadvertently just introduce dead airspace that would allow cold air to get straight down there. So what we've done is, open that up. So this, if you look inside here, you can see the clean out plug that's in there. We've cut some holes in the foam. So this whole valve box now is full of several layers of the expanded foam. And in fact, if you add them up, there is 1 large sheet at the bottom, 2 square 2-foot sheets above, and then 4 more layers. So 7 layers in total. That's R70 that we've got going down to here. So that is a lot of insulation. And then what we've got is this plug. And we made it where none of this is joined together, it's just held together by a piece of rope. But the two plugs at the bottom are a little bit smaller, and the ones on the top are a little bit larger. So it creates a bit of a lip as it goes in. Kind of a tight fit, you have to sort of wiggle it in. But when that slots into there, like that, and we'll clean all this this rope up later, we'll cut it to length and things, but for now that can sit in there, and that is basically 4 complete layers of insulation inside here and 3 more below, creating hopefully a nice insulated protection for the manifold under there. So that is us done for the day. It is almost 5:30 on a Friday afternoon and we are absolutely exhausted. It was raining really hard. Like I said earlier, we had almost 2 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. So everything here was soaked. We had the excavator assist on getting the truck up here. The bucket loader's been spinning tires. It's been just like a big mud bath. But it's been such a good day and we've made such great progress.
So what else is left to do? So they will bring clean topsoil. So our topsoil was scraped off the house and utility building side, so I think it still contains rocks.
Yeah, and sticks and roots and things on here. Yeah. It's pretty cool. They actually did, I will say, credit to them, they did a really good job of sifting out a lot of the rocks, the bigger rocks, with the excavator as they were pulling it out of the pile. So yes, it's rocky, but it's a lot better than the stuff is on that pile in general. Just to give you some sense of numbers for how much material in here, because this thing is huge. I don't know if this video is going to do it justice to just how Absolutely enormous this pile of is. They brought in, just for the mound here, I think 15 truckloads of sand.
Maybe even 16.
15 or 16 truckloads of sand. And each truckload is almost 15 yards. So we're talking well over 200, maybe 225 cubic yards of just sand in here.
Yeah.
Then there's a couple of loads of the crushed stone.
Crushed stone under the pipes, 2 loads.
And one more on top
On
of
top, yeah.
the pipes.
So 3 total loads of crushed stone.
And then there is 8 inches of native fill on top. Now they didn't truck that in, that's our stuff they're adding.
Yeah.
And then 2 more truckloads, another 30 cubic yards or so of topsoil on top of that. So this thing, it's 60 feet long, the top is 10 feet wide, and it flares out. And that is part of the reason why this thing is so massive. From the top, it has to slope out at a 1 in 3 gradient. And on a nice flat surface, that's fine. We're not building on a flat surface. So for us, this is the flattest area we could find. The pipes, the laterals have to follow the contours, so they are very flat. But the land underneath is sloping like this as the laterals go across there. So although this little slope is short, on this side, that 1 in 3 takes a while to meet the ground, if you like. And so it just absorbs a ton of material.
Yeah.
But we're really happy. This is a large septic system. This is large enough for a 5-bedroom house. It's rated to a flow, I think, of 560 gallons per day. So it is larger than we need, certainly in the RV, but it's larger than we need for the house we're planning to build. But it does give us the flexibility and kind of expansion for any future plans that we might have.
Yeah, which might be like just an RV or like another accessory dwelling unit or
A guest house or something like that.
Or even a workshop with the bathroom.
Yep.
So this is our forever home, and we're always going to have it. So we want to have options in the future. And now in the beginning is the time to invest in those big things that it's very, very hard to change later.
Buy once, cry once, as they say. and honestly, as much as it is oversized, that's not a bad thing for a septic system. It just means that we'll never be stressing the system. The system will be really kind of underused, which is great. It'll be very happy about that. So yeah, they've left now. They may come back this weekend. If not, they'll be back on Monday, and hopefully we can get this finished off.